Payback 2020 was very, very good. Yes, we're kicking things off with an immediate WTF moment here on the WTF Moments video for Payback 2020. Was there a plot hole in the main event? Yes, potentially, but also maybe not. Roman Reigns signing the contract after that main event had already started might just make sense, and I'll tell you why later in this video. What a ball tickler of a teaser. Maybe. Anywho, I firmly believe the road to WrestleMania 37 and dickhead, yes dickhead, Roman Reigns defending his Universal title against wholesome Big E. I think that's what we're going to see, and that road started tonight with a very good show. Without any further ado though, I am Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic.com, and what am I doing? These are the WTF moments for Payback 2020. Hit the intro man over there, how you doing? WTF! And Charlie Caruso, I know you're told to say these things, but you calling WWE Payback 2020 an event of similar proportions to SummerSlam 2020 is like me standing here right in front of you right now and claiming I'm of similar proportions to WWE's Finn Balor. Only that way, I'm SummerSlam and Finn Balor, he's Payback because I'm a lot bigger than Finn Balor. Dun 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 dun. And just like on the kickoff show for SummerSlam 2020, Kevin Dunn has blotted his load way too soon. What an image that is. Once again, Kevin Dunn is calling JBL WWE Hall of Famer, even though once again Charlie Caruso pointed out that since the ceremony hasn't happened yet, JBL is nothing more than a Hall of Famer elect. Oh aye, but since he's there, I guess I need to do the thing, don't I? Let's do the thing, everybody! It's John O'Clock, you bastards! Get in there! So then we learned that even though he hadn't signed the contract, Roman Reigns was on his way to Payback and was going to be part of that main event anyway. So in theory then, that no-holds-barred triple threat became an unsanctioned triple threat. Basically the same thing as long as the referees turn up and do what they're supposed to do anyway. But the balls on WWE for heavily promoting a match that wasn't even finalised heading into the show going on the air. Could you imagine? Oh yeah, they promoted John Cena as being part of a Royal Rumble event before the kickoff show started for that Royal Rumble, and they went, oh whoops, John Cena's got an injury. They are a set of bastards, aren't they? But we already knew that, didn't we? It's John O'Clock again! He's at the bloody double! Come on! And this is a direct quote from John himself when he says, Paul Heyman is possibly the worst human being that has ever walked on this earth. And I'm thinking to myself, bloody hell, John. Settle down, will you? And then we have a direct quote from Charlie Caruso herself where she claims that Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax are teaming up, and I quote, to take back the current women's champions. And I thought we here at Cultaholic were the only thing in the realms of professional wrestling to have custody of a human being on the line at Payback 2020. Imagine Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax being the parents of both Sasha Banks and Bayley though, Charlie. Oof. And then the promo package they aired about Sasha Banks and Bayley, well that, in my opinion, is a WTF moment and a half. It's a WTF moment, WTF mo. Just in case you didn't see it on the kickoff show, although they did air it just before the match itself on the main show, it talked about Sasha Banks and Bayley being wrestle friends and how their bond as friends was unbreakable, and just showed highlights from their time as women's tag team champions. It didn't reference what happened at SummerSlam last weekend. It didn't reference, most importantly, what happened on this week's SmackDown, where Sasha Banks looked right in the face of Bayley, where she said, I will get my vengeance. It was weird in my opinion. If they did say on the kickoff show that Bayley insisted we show this promo package showing how great the Golden Role Models are as friends, it would have been fine. But since they didn't do that and just disregarded really crucial things that happened, it's got to be a WTF moment and a half. A WTF moment, WTF mo. And then we had R-Truth himself arriving somewhere which he thought was somewhere different and then saying, my bad. Are we going back in time when it comes to all things R-Truth? How long's it been since he's done something like that? quite a while in my mind. That's why I made it a WTF moment. And then Truth was speaking about the United States title match between Apollo Crews and Bobby Lashley of the Hurt Business. And because of the Hurt Business, R-Truth reckons that Apollo Crews, and I quote, needs to watch his back, his front, his sides, all ins, capped off, covered, sealed. And so it would appear in my deranged mind that R-Truth might just believe that the Hurt Business is actually called the Hump Business, and Bobby Lashley is going to shag Apollo Crews to win the US title. And then we see footage of a recent episode of Talking Smack where we see The Miz speaking to Big E, telling Big E that WWE's top brass, they made him wear shorts, they made him wear silly hats, but when he ditched all that, that's when he became a main eventer in WWE. And I'm just checking my notes and now looking at the attire The Miz wore when The Miz challenged Braun Strowman for the Universal title this year. Oh aye, it would appear, judging off that look there, Mizzles, you are full of sugar, honey, ice and tea. Big E will be fine as a main eventer the way he is. Tea time. And then we had King Booker himself claiming that what I've just gone through there from The Miz was actually sound advice towards Big E. Of course, we all remember that serious Booker T when he transformed into King Booker with his silly accent and his crappy costume, all of that silliness. He had no success whatsoever, did he? Oh, he did. Once again, Big E is going to be fine as a main eventer the way he is, and I cannot wait to see him in that role. And then Booker T still having a go at Big E, says that this pro wrestling business is all about checks and championships. And when he said the word checks there, I was thinking to myself, I don't even want to think about how much money the New Day as a collective has made from all the merchandise they've sold over the past 5 years or so. Imagine. And then, of course, all of the New Day's tag team titles, they speak for themselves, and Big E will be a world champion. You mark my words, Booker T. Whether you like it or not, he'll get there being super serious when the bell rings and having a laugh when the bell isn't ringing. It'll work, man. It's fine. Give me entertaining Big E with a serious edge over somebody bland and crap and just a bag of muscles in the main event scene any day of the week. I love Big E, me. I love him. And then we have Tom Phillips claiming the IIconics have made life hell for Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan of the Riott Squad. And if the IIconics have made life hell for Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan, I'm asking why this hasn't been shown on WWE TV. What the hell have they done to make their life hell? If you know, let me know, because I haven't got a clue. And so then we saw the spot where Billie Kay distracted Liv Morgan. Peyton Royce then hits Liv Morgan off the apron. Then the bloody IIconics, they try to convince Liv Morgan it was Ruby Riott who actually knocked her off the apron. Liv was having none of it though. She got back in the ring and she started laying bitches out. What the hell am I doing? I've got no idea. Anyway, this prompted Tom Phillips to then say, imagine what it took for Liv Morgan to get over that mental hurdle and trust Ruby Riott. Now, after the last 2 points in this here video, I do not want to say that Tom Phillips is really bloody dramatic and really bloody over the top, but he really is, isn't he? He really is. Dun, 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 dun. And I don't know about you at home, but I thought it was wonderful to see Ruby Riott telling JBL's quaff that the IIconics have been trying to tear them apart, but they've made it through and they're stronger than ever. I just hope that Ruby Riott and JBL's quaff build on this victory and go on to win the women's tag team titles. That there was so emotional. Uno, dos, tres, he's at the bloody hat trick, everybody. It's Jonathan again. Randy Orton is a superstar who can put you in the hospital. Is he John Bradshaw Layfield? The hospital, JBL. We all know that WWE superstars, when they suffer a knock or an injury, they don't go to the hospital, because if WWE say X superstar is going to a hospital, that gives the creeps and the weirdos in any given city chance to go to their local hospital to wait for their favourite WWE superstars arriving to that hospital. That's the real reason they don't say hospital. Local medical facility is the term you're looking for, JBL, because that's different. Tea time. So then we hear Booker T tell Stinky Pete, the prospector himself, no, Stinky Pete, you never ever call Keith Lee a kid. He's a fully grown man. But Booker T himself a few moments earlier quite literally called Keith Lee a young man, and I don't know about you, but I've heard certain people call little tiny children, boys at least, a young man, which means that Booker T was essentially calling Keith Lee a child. Which means, of course, that Booker T needs to be really, really scared of Keith Lee, because as he said, Keith Lee is a fully grown man. Don't you ever forget about Keith Booker. So then we get to the start of the main show, and the main show starts with some glass shattering effects accompanied by an appropriate glass shattering sound effect, which of course triggered gimmick infringement Kane into action, because there's only one glass shatterer in the world of professional wrestling, and it's certainly not Payback 2020, no matter how good Payback 2020 actually was. We all know the only glass shatterer in the world of professional wrestling is one Stone Cold Steve Austin. And because Payback 2020 defied all of the odds and was a good professional wrestling show, gimmick infringement Kane has told me that he's not going to harm Payback 2020. He just wants Payback 2020 on the re-airs on the WWE Network, wants them to ditch the glass shattering effect for their own sound effect. Gimmick infringement Kane reckons that instead of using some glass shattering, Payback 2020 should use, and I quote, dun 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 dun. Now this was a WTF moment last weekend at SummerSlam 2020, and it's still a WTF moment this weekend at Payback 2020. Therefore, it's a WTF moment, a double WTF moment. And of course, as I said last week, apparently according to the news, which means it's absolutely true, WWE have had their hands on the new design of the US title since all the way back in December, and Kevin Dunn still can't sort a new graphic out. Oh, man, Kevin, pull your finger out your teeth, will you? And in my humble opinion, there's one word for that there, and it's goofy as balls. Ah, that's 3 words. Goofy, that's the word. I'm asking the question, why doesn't this happen every single time a ringside photographer takes a picture of something that's happening inside the professional wrestling ring? They're always there. Go and look at WWE.com after every single WWE show. Some lovely pictures for all to enjoy. They're always there. It works in GTA when you need to take a picture as part of a mission, but it doesn't bloody work there, does it? Nah. So you might recall during the Kickoff show, Charlie Caruso told us even though Roman Reigns, hang on a second there, the big dog himself, even though he hasn't signed his contract, he is still going to be a Payback 2020, and that triple threat match for the Universal title is still going ahead. But then we get to the main show and we see Kayla Braxton, and Kayla Braxton is saying, I'm here to see the big dog and to see if the big dog has signed the contract for that Universal title match. And I'm asking, well, which one is it, WWE? Is it Kayla Braxton's story, or is it Charlie Caruso's story? And then Paul Heyman arrived on the scene to complicate things even further by saying, I don't know if Roman Reigns has signed a contract, Kayla Braxton. You should ask Roman Reigns yourself. Which then seems to confirm that Kayla Braxton's tale is the true tale here, which leaves the question, Charlie Caruso, why were you lying? But this was confusing right here, because why was JBL so menacing and threatening towards my pal Keith Lee when he was saying, don't feel too bad if you lose, Keith Lee. Randy Orton's one of the greats, you prick. He didn't quite say prick, but you could tell he wanted to. All Keith said, JBL, you arsewipe, is I don't have $1 million to spunk away on one of your hedge funds. What's your problem? And then if you look at Sheamus' fists when he's in the ring ready for a professional wrestling match, you will see they are not taped up. But then we see Sheamus' fists when he arrives at the arena, and he might just have gone for a coffee at Starbucks before he got to the arena. They're taped up there. He's doing things the wrong way around, isn't he? Sheamus, why are you fighting in Starbucks, you weirdo? But more to the point, Sheamus, why don't you just dress like that when you are doing the wrestling inside the wrestling ring instead of getting changed into some skimpy little pants? I like that look for Sheamus as a brawler, as a wrestler, and it's different. That's the most important thing. It's different. It looks good. Why get changed?
Made a grave mistake, Corey.
And then we have a direct quote from Corey Graves himself when he says the fact that Big E's reigns in the past as a singles competitor are overlooked and forgotten tells you all you need to know. You don't look back at Big E's past championship reigns as anything of great significance. And quite frankly, I don't think I need to say anything of note here, because that's a load of bollocks, Corey.
Made a grave mistake.
And then we have another direct quote from Corey Graves when he says Sheamus has won every championship, but for some reason is not seen as a great champion. And I was thinking, Corey, isn't the fact you've said that about more than one WWE superstar who has recently held a title of some kind just indicative of the bollocks way WWE books their champions? You win a belt, you lose to the challengers. It never ever bloody changes, does it? But hey, WWE commentary inadvertently burying WWE itself. You love to see it from time to time, don't you? And then I think it was Corey Graves once again when he said Sheamus has a leg submission that he's used to great success. That cloverleaf. And I did a little bit of digging and I found out the last time Sheamus won a match with a cloverleaf was all the way back in 2017 when he beat the Shining Stars. So does it really count? Sorry, Primo and Epico. Well then, Elise Ashton, you claimed that Matt Riddle is gearing up for his first pay-per-view match on the main roster. Well, let me tell you, Triple H just had an aneurysm after hearing that. Love that Mick Foley promo from back in the day. I'm only making this a WTF moment because we're told so many times that NXT is the third brand of WWE on the same level as both Raw and SmackDown, but not according to Elise Ashton, it would seem. And then we have big baldy bastard Baron Corbin himself calling Matt Riddle a failure at home, and Matt Riddle is really pissed off. Hang on there. Big baldy bastard Baron Corbin's a heel. Matt Riddle, up until that point, was a baby face, was he not? Are we supposed to feel sorry for Matt Riddle even though big baldy bastard Baron Corbin is simply telling the truth? That ain't working. That's not working. It's not working. Why have they made that a part of the storyline? In kayfabe. That's... Corbin's a... What? Nobody meaner than Tamina is right, Nia Jax. Get in there. And even though I haven't really made it a WTF moment so far, the fact that WWE have just brushed to one side the tag team tandem that was Nia Jax and Tamina, even though I personally believe that Nia Jax was holding back my best friend in the entire world, Tamina. I bet you agree as well. It's nice to see that more WWE superstars are coming aboard the Tamina train. Welcome, Nia Jax. Woo-woo! So Matt Riddle beats big baldy bastard Baron Corbin. We get backstage and big baldy bastard Baron Corbin then sneak attacks that no good dirty cheater Matt Riddle. No, he didn't cheat in that wrestling match. You know, yeah. And once again, I'm asking, who are we cheering for here after what big baldy bastard Baron Corbin brought into this feud, this storyline from real life? It's just a weird call from WWE to bring this into the storyline when the guy on the other side of the storyline is big baldy bastard Baron Corbin, the biggest heel going today, probably. We're getting there step by step. The first step was seen at Payback 2020 with the dismissal of the weird netball short slash skirt thing. Thank God they're gone. But the music is still awful. I've seen people on Twitter claiming the theme Keith Lee had at Payback 2020 was different to the one he used on last week's Raw, but to me, either way, they're still absolutely rubbish. Sort it out, WWE. Come on, man. I fully understand there's a reason that Keith Lee can't use his old bask in his glory theme, and that's absolutely fine, but first impressions are everything. That's why I stand in front of you right now as a man with no friends in this world whatsoever. And for that to be his first theme on Monday Night Raw is absolutely scandalous. You talk about wanting to bask in his glory. I want to busk in Keith Lee's glory, even though I cannot play the guitar. But still, anything I produce with a guitar is better than the themes Keith Lee has had so far on Monday Night Raw and at Payback 2020. Sort it out, man. And then we have Mike Rome announcing Keith Lee is from Wichita Falls, Kansas. Even though I know, being such a big fan of Keith Lee, is that Keith Lee is from Wichita Falls, Texas. Unless, of course, as the old song goes, all my Texas are my exes. Because Keith might have moved. He didn't move. That was terrible. Let's move on with the video, though. And then we have a direct quote from Tom Phillips himself when he said this past Monday night on Raw, Keith Lee interrupted and then challenged Randy Orton one-on-one. That very same night, Keith Lee delivered 3 kicks to the skull of WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. Keith did what? Stop basking in the bar, Tom Phillips. You're making no bloody sense, man. A Randy Orton golden shower. You love to see it. And then the moment Tom Phillips, who by the way commentates on NXT, the moment Tom Phillips said this is Keith Lee's first ever pay-per-view match in WWE, I firmly believe that Triple H had his second aneurysm of the night. And then I think I worked out that this whole bollock spiel of NXT being on the same level as Raw and SmackDown only applies when Survivor Series is coming up. Keith Lee beat Randall Keith in 6 minutes and 40 seconds live on a WWE pay-per-view. And I tell you what, to see a lot of people bitching online about Keith Lee's music, I just bitched about it in this here video. What a hypocrite I am. But that's besides the point. We can take all of our gripes about the appearance of Keith Lee since he moved to Monday Night Raw and the music, and we can put it to one side because Keith Lee defeated Randy Orton in 6 minutes 40 on a WWE pay-per-view. And what's more is this is Randy Orton at the most interesting Randy Orton has been since about 2009. This is unbelievable. This is fantastic. Let's celebrate, man. As far as I'm concerned, Keith could have came out dressed as a giant baby, skipping down to the ring to the tune of SpongeBob SquarePants. It doesn't matter. He beat Randy Orton in under 7 minutes on a pay-per-view. Oof. You can't believe me, said Paul Heyman with a poo-eating grin on his face. And I don't know about you at home, but I was thinking penny for Gallows and Anderson's thoughts right there. And a penny for AJ Styles' thoughts as well, because of course in the midst of this Gallows and Anderson controversy backstage involving Paul Heyman, AJ Styles left Monday Night Raw to go to Friday Night SmackDown, and now Paul Heyman is on Friday Night SmackDown managing Roman Reigns. So what the hell does AJ Styles do? Back to Raw? Over to NXT? Who knows? And then we have a WTF moment that should have brought a tear or two or maybe even three to your eye as Dominik Mysterio himself won his second ever WWE pay-per-view match with a frog splash. The finishing move, of course, of his biological father, Viva la Raza. What am I doing? Eddie Guerrero. Which is it, you bastards? I mean, it is the 27th. It was the 20th, but it got changed. But then they're still showing that, and that's weird. And we're seeing the old United States title match graphic thing. Then we're seeing this here. Kevin Dunn, where the hell are you? As I said earlier on, Kevin Dunn needs to get his arse in gear and pull his finger right out of the gap in his massive front teeth, and that there might be the issue. They're that big, he might have got some chicken stuck in there, and in an attempt to get the chicken out, he might have got his whole arm stuck, which prevents him from editing stuff and making things up to date. I hope you're okay, Kevin. Now, this might just be from my perspective as a sad man who watches every single minute of Raw, every single minute of SmackDown, and every single minute of WWE pay-per-views. But I see the Fiend with the blue version of the Universal title and not his own version of the Universal title, you know, with his mask on and all that. And I think that's a WTF moment. Because to me, a no-good hack on the interweb that telegraphed the fact the Fiend was going to lose the Universal title, did it not? I know we didn't have big baldy Bill holding up the Fiend's personalised Universal title over in Saudi Arabia, but with all the rumour and innuendo about Roman Reigns and what might happen at Payback 2020, and then you see the Fiend walking out with that, it sort of gave it away for me. Might just be me. I'll shut up now. Mago, 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 mago. Oh my God, look what the Fiend has now, a club or mallet of some kind. Ooh. And I was thinking to myself, don't pretend you haven't seen that thing before, Maggle Cole. We all remember that Hell in a Cell match between the Fiend and Seth Rollins, where it was fine to use a big mallet, but not fine to use a little hammer. As much as we all want to forget that Hell in a Cell match, we all bloody remember that Hell in a Cell match, and you must do too, Maggle Cole. Don't you try and pretend otherwise. Oh, is this supposed to be what was happening last weekend, when it didn't bloody happen last weekend? You know what I'm talking about here, how Alexa Bliss played such an integral role in that Braun Strowman versus The Fiend story, and she wasn't there at SummerSlam to do anything. What was all that about? A week later, it still makes no sense, does it? It was nice to see her getting involved at Payback, however, and I'm all for this Twisted Bliss character becoming more twisted show by show by show, and if that's by her getting more and more dreadlocky every single show, so be it. I just want to see the Fiend aligned with Alexa Bliss, or the other way around, I guess. Interesting stuff, isn't it? Isn't it weird how Battle Royals and Royal Rumbles happen, eh? And isn't it strange that how on a WWE pay-per-view held in the United States, the electronic ring posts were nowhere to be seen and the turnbuckle covers were a lot thicker than they normally are? I am so sad for noticing this. Sorry. You know what? Some people say that spot there where the ring imploded once again was really unnecessary and a bit nonsensical considering Braun Strowman and The Fiend and their weight put together isn't that much in the grand scheme of things, really. But I say, hey, it's a load of fun. It's always fun to see the ring imploding, and I had fun watching the ring implode. And I also had a lot of fun watching Charles Robinson die a horrible death. That's a weird sentence to say, but the fall he took when the ring went down was absolutely top tier. If I was doing a tier ranking of every single referee bump, when the ring implodes, Charles Robinson is the best of the best. Charles, I hope you're okay. He went head first. And once again, music is the hot topic because Roman Reigns did not get new music. You would have thought, as iconic, I guess, as Roman Reigns is da-da, 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 da-da. As iconic as that might be to some people, I firmly believe that theme's had its day. It's time for something new. This was the perfect opportunity, and we got diddly squat. Hopefully this week on SmackDown, Roman Reigns gets a new theme as we rubber stamp the point that he is now a no-good dick. Hopefully he gets a theme that is befitting of a no-good dickhead, but I digress. But as we all saw, Roman Reigns signed that contract on the ramp after that main event match had already started. And this, of course, begs the question, why doesn't anybody involved in a multi-man proper main event match always sign the contract after the match has started and after several participants in that multi-man match have already killed each other, like Braun and Bray did? But this is potentially the plot hole filler I was speaking about at the start of this very here video. Maybe when we saw Roman Reigns moaning about the contract presented to him by Adam Pearce on last week's SmackDown, maybe the clause was, I'll sign the contract if I can sign it after the bell has already rung. I'm just putting it out there, it makes sense to me. Any way you look at it, Roman Reigns was an absolute bastard in that main event, and maybe, just maybe, he actually is a heel. I was thinking he was going to be more no-nonsense Roman Reigns, let Paul Heyman do the talking, let him do the arse kicking, but that was really heelish, wasn't it? So it looks like we might just have a heel Roman Reigns. Oof. And that stuff with the chair, it just reminded me of Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 17. He told The Rock in the build-up to WrestleMania 17, Rock, I'll do anything, and I mean anything to get back my title, and he did just anything. Reigns did anything there, and like Austin turned into a dick, I guess Roman is now a dick. I still can't believe it. And of course, the big dog himself went on to win the Universal title. Yes, it's a shame The Fiend was a sort of transitional champion as Reigns came back to the company, but thank goodness The Fiend was not the one to be pinned after what they did to him at the hands of Goldberg in Saudi Arabia. I was really worried about how The Fiend would lose this Universal title, but thankfully it wasn't all that bad. It's just a bit of a shame he was a transitional champion and also a bit of a WTF moment, really. Let's not put The Fiend back in the Universal title picture ever. He doesn't need it. He's that bloody makes you he just doesn't need it, does he? That's my opinion. You might share it, you might not, and that's how the world works.
Made a grave mistake, Corey.
And we end things with a grave mistake at Payback 2020 when he said it's a new era of WWE. Roman Reigns as your Universal Champion is a new era of WWE. Of course, it's a new Roman Reigns, so I guess Corey is right. But I just wanted to end the video with a grave mistake, really. Yes, Roman Reigns is now a proper dick, it would seem, with Paul Heyman by his side. That is very interesting. Payback 2020 defied the odds with 1 week build. It was a good bloody show. I enjoyed it immensely. I hope you enjoyed this rambling nonsense of a video as well. I've been Ross Twaddell from Cultaholic.com. It's now 5:30 in the morning here in the United Kingdom, and I'm away to bed. I'll see you on Tuesday for some Raw WTF moments where hopefully Keith Lee has a proper good theme. But let's not get too bogged down with that theme. He beat Randy Orton in 6 minutes 40 seconds on a pay-per-view. That's amazing. See you next time.